Hey guys, and welcome back to another tech show video. In today's video I'm going to be taking a look at the Palm Treo 700P. This device was launched in 2006 for the price of $400 US. The P in the name stands for Palm OS because this version of the device runs Palm OS, which you would expect for a Palm device, but you could also get the 700W, which was the model that ran Windows Mobile. I'd like to compare the two eventually, but right now I've just got the 700P version, so we'll just have to leave that for a future video. The 700P is a pretty chunky and heavy device, but that's really not a bad thing at all. It makes it feel very substantial and has already survived one pretty bad drop, yet doesn't appear that there are any new scratches or marks on the device. I also really like the way this phone looks. With that quirky little antenna, rounded edges, and this tiny QWERTY keyboard, this device stands out yet maintains a very classy and stylish appearance. This phone is not only a good looking device though. Since it is running Palm OS version 5.4, this phone includes all the standard functions you would get with a Palm PDA of the time. So if you wanted the convenience of having a Palm PDA with you, but didn't want to carry both a PDA and a phone, this was a great solution. Of course the screen is a bit small compared to a normal PDA, but most people will find that it really isn't a huge thing to get used to. What you might find hard to get used to though is this keyboard. It's a little cramped and not the best thing to type on, and you'd really need to get used to it if you're used to using graffiti to write. But there really is nothing about this device that is an inconvenience enough to be a deal breaker. The convenience of having the functions of a PDA in your phone is really awesome. It also unsurprisingly runs Palm OS apps and games really well, although some of them seem to be confused by this phone's buttons. One of the apps would not exit unless I reset the whole device, but most apps worked great. I was pretty surprised to find that the Palm desktop program still works really well on Windows 10 and can Hotsync to my Treo over Bluetooth. I attempted to set up a connection between my computer and Treo to get an internet connection on the Treo, but I couldn't get it to work for some reason, even on Windows XP. That's one place I think Windows Mobile would have been able to excel at. It seems like I've always been able to connect most of my Windows Pocket PCs to the internet via Bluetooth, even old ones. But I guess that's not really a huge issue because most people would have been using this phone's 3G connection. And speaking of the phone capabilities, there is one little quirk to this device that I thought was a little interesting. The device has a standard looking red power button that is used for putting the device to sleep and ending calls when you press it, but it doesn't actually turn off the device when long pressed. You see, this is a PDA, and if you remember those, you couldn't really turn them off without removing the battery. You could put them to sleep of course, but you couldn't power them down, and that's exactly how this device functions. Although since it is a phone too, holding the power button simply turns on or off the wireless connectivity portion of the device, similar to the way we have airplane mode on phones today. If you wanted to save battery life or data, and just wanted to use this device like a normal PDA, you can just switch off the phone functions, which is pretty handy. And really back then you probably would have spent most of your time using this phone's offline features anyway. The 1.3 megapixel camera, for example, is one of the features I have used most on this phone. Not that it's really any good because it's pretty low resolution and the colors are really muted. I don't know why, but it's just really fun to take pictures and videos on here. And the fact that they automatically sync to the computer over Hotsync is really handy. These photos aren't great by today's standards, nor were they great when this device was released in 2006, but they do lack annoying color noise, and they're at least sharp enough that you can see what is in the photo, most of the time anyway. I definitely have seen devices with worse cameras for sure, so just take my word for it when I say it's not the best, but it's not the worst. There are some very basic things you can do with photos, such as setting them as your wallpaper, drawing on them, recording a voice memo to go with them, and rotating them. This phone also shoots video, but it's really not much to look at. As far as other features go, this phone has a pretty standard set of features, for a PDA at least. On top we've got an IR port, SD card slot, and a silence switch. Now if a silence switch seems familiar to you, it's no surprise because to this day, Apple still puts a silence switch on their devices that allow you to easily know whether your device is on silent or not. While Apple is often credited for inventing this feature, it was actually Palm that first started putting these switches on their phones. Over on the side of the phone we have two volume buttons and a third button, which when long pressed, launches the voice memo app and is used in confirming the volume you want to set the phone to. One really annoying thing about this device is that the volume buttons are only used to adjust the ringtone volume. Even when you are in a game or playing any kind of media, these volume buttons only are used to adjust the ringtone. To change the volume of other programs, you need to go all the way into Preferences, Sound Alerts, tap the drop down box, and choose System. It's a lot of work just to change the volume, but apparently Palm didn't think this was an issue. Other than that, I didn't have any issues with my device, even though a few years after the device was launched, Palm did release a software update that claimed to fix bugs. I have not installed that update on my device, yet I haven't experienced any noticeable bugs. I would have installed the update, but as I mentioned earlier, I don't have a data cable and you can't do a firmware update over Bluetooth. In conclusion, this device is coming very close to being my favorite device in my collection. With that chunky design to the fact that it's pretty much a phone and a PDA at the same time, it's a really unique device that brings us back to the early days of smartphones. Personally, I've always been a Windows CE fan, and I'd absolutely love to have the 700W version of this phone. Unfortunately, they're apparently not very common, but hopefully I can pick up one of these eventually. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone's support, and if you like what you see here, don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any future content. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.